and this is our plan of attack.
Gangs have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio!
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs. Memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Barbara Jean Lindsey is an internationally acclaimed psychic, spiritual healer.
They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates.
As the
You're
cosmic
Revolution Radio,
she is a conduit to the powers that be
100%
to answer your questions about
radio,
your
and
future
now
self,
we return you
past lives,
your host.
current career, love. She shines light into the darkness to illuminate what was, what may be, and beyond. The readings and advice given by Barbara Jean Lindsey are for entertainment purposes only. Should not take the place of any medical, legal, or financial advice given to you by a qualified professional and are not a substitute for medical, legal, or financial advice. If you need a doctor, call a doctor. If you need to be expanded, call Cosmic Radio.
Well, that was quite an introduction coming from like 3 different places there. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and welcome to the Cosmic Oracle Show. We are coming to you live from not only Los Angeles, California, but also live from Luxembourg. And that's, we'll have to have our guest tell us exactly where that is. So I'm sorry for that beginning, Courtney. Yeah, it is a live feed. So you are having a staring contest. That's right, you are. So I apologize for that. We're working things out, but we do have our guest on. And so I have to come on after the ads have come through. So we usually start about now, 5:04. So thanks, Don Nicholson, for coming on, and Courtney and Tish and everyone. So I have a wonderful guest here on the show today. I'm going to introduce you to him shortly. I want to thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio here at the Cosmic Oracle Show. We are an all-volunteer station, and what that means is no one gets paid for their work here on Revolution Radio. We have over 80 shows so far that work almost 24 hours a day. And so we don't have to have advertising, and we are free to talk about whatever we want. So if you would please continue to give your donations to Revolution Radio. And the way you do that is that you go to freedomslips.com and you push that donate button and you give whatever you can. And for about $5 a month, you can join our archives and have access to all of the shows here on Revolution Radio for just $5 a month. So give what you can, $1, $5, $20, whatever you can. We really appreciate it in keeping Revolution Radio on the air. And so now we will get to our wonderful guest, and I want to tell you a little bit about him. Our guest is RALPH RODEHAG. And he was born in Sweden in 1959. And he says he has a really nice childhood growing up. He was normal. And he grew up in Sweden and partly in the United States. He was active as a kid in music and choirs and racket sports. He engaged in competition, shooting, as well as voluntary military activity like in the Royal Swedish Air Force and CAP. He participated in International Air Cadet Exchange in 1976, where he got to visit Andrew Air Force Base, Edwards Air Force Base, and Beale Air Force Base here in the United States. He saw the first space shuttle being built, the Enterprise, the B-1B bomber, the SR-71. So he has an extended interest in aviation since the age of 7 years old, and he's been a commercial pilot now since the age of 20 in many different types of operation. So presently, he does commercial airline transport, and he's a traveler of the planet. He's lived in the United States and many countries in Europe and in the Middle East, and he has many friends all over and all corners in this world. He had an opportunity to meet and study different cultures as well, and some are very different than the Western culture, he writes. We all have so much to learn from one another. He had his first UFO reading at the age of 15, and he read books by Daniel Fry. We all know him from the classic 50s movement, and George Adamski at this time, as well as some UFO magazines. His first real experience that he remembers came in Reading, Pennsylvania, when he had a dimensional time travel experience, and we will be talking to Ralph beginning our show with that. And he didn't know about things during that time, and in his late adolescence, he became part of the Howard Menger family, well-known family, and became a part of their lives. And for several years, he experienced a telepathic communication with aliens, and we're going to be talking to him about that. And he also experienced out of body. So I think we'll just kind of leave it for there, and then we'll pick up. He has an extensive bio, and you can reach RALPH RODEHAG on Facebook here. And so his work now is to share the information that he's accumulated during a lifetime. Because it belongs to all of us, he says. We are responsible to build our own world, and we can only do so by exposing the truth. We need to be peaceful and truthful and join hands to do this. Today, his work is the goal of informing people and helping people find their own way and their own path in life. And we all have the answers within us, he writes. People need to understand who they are and the power they truly carry. So he says, with love and blessings to all of you, my fellow brothers and sisters. And now I'd like to bring on to the show RALPH RODEHAG, my friend. Hello, Ralph.
Oh, hi, Barbara. Good to be with you. Good to hear your voice. And hello to all of you beautiful listeners out there listening to me and Barbara tonight.
We're going to have some fun. We met at Janet and Sasha Caroles's Stargate to the Cosmos conference, and we hit it off like we just knew each other, you and your beautiful wife. And so we had planned at that time, okay, you need to come on the show. So we're finally doing it. I'm so glad that you're here. And it's a perfect timing because with your background as an airline pilot for how many years, Ralph?
Oh, well, well, it all depends. But, I've been flying commercial airliners since 30 years. Smaller and bigger ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I did fly a lot of air taxi. I've flown corporate. I've done special missions. I've done cargo. A little bit of the military, like you said there. So I do have a little bit of experience of everything because I did love aviation a lot before. Today it's a job, but I still like the job. So no, it's okay. But it's different now than it used to be. We're so much more computerized nowadays than it was then. And the laws and the rules, they're totally different now than it used to be. In the old days, we had to do a lot more manual calculations in flying than we do nowadays. Now we rely more on computers and procedures and all these things. Mm-hmm. So it's changed a lot.
In your years. So what is we talked about this at length yesterday, but I'd like to share it with our listeners about the 737 Boeings being grounded. And finally, I know President Trump also grounded them as well, made an official statement about that. Can you talk a little bit about that from your perspective? Because you've been in the business for so long. I think our listeners would really appreciate someone who, like you, is in the know somehow.
Well, sure. The 737 is the most sold airplane in the world. Its technology was developed back in the 50s, basically. And, Boeing has been selling that in different types of models. And first, it was what they call the 100 series, which was the original. Then came the 200, and the 200 became famous for being the convertible in Hawaii when they lost the roof a long time ago. But they managed to go through that one. But these airplanes have been very reliable. Boeing they're making really, really good airplanes. However, technology develops, and they have a competition in Airbus, and Airbus is really, really far ahead of Boeing in technology nowadays. And, but Boeing still have their reliability, and they still have a lot of customers out there. And they naturally got to develop their things. Now, if you build a new airplane type, means you have to certify it, and you have to do a lot of test flying, and that takes years, and it costs a lot of money. And then, when a company will buy that, it's also training personnel, engineers, and, pilots, cabin crew, and it costs a lot of money to do that. So with the 737, what they've done is that it stayed under the same certification all the time. And that makes it easier to make a transition when you go from an older 737 into a new 737. So, so this is the way it works. So now the latest generation they had before this MAX series, which is coming out now, was called the NG. That stands for New Generation. And that was 4 models, that they took out. And now what they've done is they have elongated the fuselage to take more passengers. So the one we carry today, which takes 189 passengers, can actually take up to 210 in this MAX version that we're talking about now. That's gone down there twice. Okay, so the MAX version, it's longer, has stronger engines. Naturally, that changes a lot of stuff on the airplane. And with that, Boeing apparently designed a new system, which they call the MCAS system, which is supposed to help pilots in case they get into a situation where the nose would go high and you would lose the lift over the wing, because the wings are making the airplanes fly, folks, not the engines. The engines are just basically pulling the airplane forward to get lift and air over the wings. So even if we're in the air, we'd lose both engines, we can still fly the airplane because we can use gravity for that. So, the wings are the essential parts. Well, anyway, so, when the wing doesn't get any more air to flow over it, then we come in what we call in the stall condition. And that can happen actually in any type of speed or attitude with an airplane. But the thing is here that Boeing has built a system to help the pilot get out of those situations. And it seems like because of faulty indications from what we see now in the accidents reports and all this, the airplane is trimming the nose down very heavily. And when it becomes too heavy, it's difficult for the pilots to do that. And I don't know if people have been properly trained for this. In my airline, we've been trained even to do this on the old models, but we never had that problem on the old ones, so, but it's just that we're trained for it anyway. And I know that Boeing has issued what they call a bulletin, so people can read about this and know what to do if they have this situation. But again, it's every airline, every country, it's all different, and it all depends on the quality the airlines have. My airline today is the safest airline of the world, folks, just so you know that. And that's Ryanair.
And I've been reading about the article, a few different articles about it. And what I read was that they suggested that maybe they should have had additional training for this particular jet. Would you agree with that, or?
Well, it's always a good idea. You have to have what they call a difference training and understanding if there are new equipment in there, new instrumentation. So you do understand. But, like in this situation, from what I've seen now, what I studied on my own and talked to some of my colleagues, I have a colleague that flies this thing, and he says it's lovely to fly. It's not a problem at all. It's really, really nice. It reassembles very much the same way you fly the NG, which I'm flying now, and he did before. And he just told me that it's a lovely airplane to fly. The thing is, again, if they had a situation which requires pretty immediate actions and they were not really all happy about it, and couldn't take the actions they needed to do, maybe because they didn't have the knowledge, maybe the company didn't really push them to study this. It's very hard to tell. But, I know that most airlines who are really like good quality, they will have this out, So definitely, I'm a little bit surprised about Ethiopian, but we still have to see the accident report on that. Mm-hmm. So to see what they come up with.
And we were talking yesterday, I found fascinating, is that you said in the future that it's not too far in the future that the airplanes will be all automated. There won't be any humans. Can you kind of talk to that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I will do that. I can only talk to what I know, like I told you yesterday. But the thing is this: Airbus is working today on systems like that in Toulouse, in France, and this has to do with all the UAVs. UAV, a lot people don't know too much about them. They know they're drones flying around doing the stuff for the military. They can carry armament, or they can't carry cameras for surveillance and all this. But, the technology is so advanced, and it's like 15 or 17 years ago, I met a man from Israeli Aircraft in Florida. And, they're the biggest producers of UAVs. And he told me that, in 20 or 25 years, this is going to start creeping into civilian aviation because the technology is just so advanced. And I know that Airbus is already working on one airplane where they're in cruise over the Atlantic. It's just going to be a single pilot monitoring everything. Normally we have two today. But in the future, I think what's going to happen is that you're going to see this UAV being flown from the ground as a commercial airliner. You'll still have a couple of pilots up there to be the safety for the flight. But eventually, when that's proven, it's going to come down to one pilot and all this. So, we're going to be made redundant. And there's an old joke there, folks. They used to say that the future of the cockpit will be a pilot and a dog. So, the pilot is there to feed the dog, and the dog is there to bite the pilot if he touches anything. How about that?
I love it. Well, thank you so much for giving us your viewpoint, because it's nice to hear it from someone who has been there. So thank you for sharing your wisdom about the airplanes and what our future is, and we can still feel safe up in the air, right, Ralph?
I mean, if I had to choose any time, I'd take the air. All the people working up there are educated in what they're doing, and you go on the roads and you see all those nitwits, or people are not paying attention, and dumb crashes, people are stressed. If people were educated, we wouldn't have so many accidents as we're having today. We just wouldn't have it.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully we'll continue on, and before you know it, we'll be having some space transports as well, right? Hey,
sure.
with your
Stargates,
right, and a secret space program to Mars. Maybe since you're a pilot here on the ground on Earth, does that automatically make you a prospect for mission to Mars?
Well, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Special.
Yeah. If you had a chance to go, would you go, Ralph?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I certainly would. I'm not scared of that. It's uncharted territory, but it's interesting to do the stuff and you got to use your intelligence to do that. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I would think they would have to be very extremely qualified problem solvers. Since it's
Barbara, I think you'd like to go as well, wouldn't you?
I would, except for, I filled out that questionnaire for when Virgin sent it about joining. And I did everything fine. Everything was perfect until it said it would be a one-way trip. And I have grandchildren. So I just couldn't leave my grandchildren. I couldn't leave my children either if they're listening, but that I couldn't do it. And so that's what stopped me. And I was go all the way. And then when it came to leaving my grandchildren, I just felt like I want to be a real impact in their life. And I understand I can do that from, millions of miles away on Skype or on something like that. But I just want to be with them. So that's what stopped me from it. If I could have a return flight, but not a one-way. It just didn't make sense for me. So
no, I know. But think about this. Being a pilot, it's just a job. It's just ordinary people who likes flying, doing a job. And they have families, they have kids, they also want to come home, So always remember that, because flying is just a way of transport, and it's a job at the end, like anything else. You get used to it, you get your experience. So it's not always the adventure it was a long time ago when aviation was new. Aviation is so developed today, and it's becoming more and more computerized, because computers tend not to make so many mistakes like humans do all the time. And you can see that with the accident rates, that the accident rates have really gone down in the statistics if you look through the years. Mm-hmm. So, and actually another thing that people don't know, there are aircraft accidents, but still a lot of people survive, So that like what happened here in the last two cases here with this new Boeing, that's very unfortunate. But in aviation, we try to take advantage of this. We try to learn from other people's mistakes. So, all the accidents that are happening, they're published all over the world in the aviation communities. And then eventually, each and every company, like in our company, when the Air France went down, you remember that over the Atlantic?
Yes.
And so immediately we were trained for those kind of situations, which is great, So we trying to take advantage of when something goes wrong and we know what's wrong, then we try to take advantage, and we try to correct that by training people.
Quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, which is good. You know, I really like that. It's a good community. Aviation brings a lot of stuff for us that people don't realize, because, you know, like, we study a lot of psychology. How do we work together? And, you know, things that are important. Now, I'm a captain on an airplane, right? So I'm the boss on the airplane. My word is law on the airplane. But, you know, the thing is, I always listen to my crew members, because they may come up with very essential information. And at the end of the day, although we are a bunch of individuals working there, we're just one. And we got to work together when we have a problem. And we have to listen to one another. And, you know, it's not important who says something. It's important what's being said, and then try to find the best solution for it. So this is really, really a good thing.
And so you've served humanity through your keeping people safe in the air all these years. So
sure, it's 40 years now. And for those who know, I mean, I got over 21,000 flight hours. And I've flown in the States, I've flown in all over Europe, a little bit in Africa, in the Middle East. You know, I've seen a lot, and I've seen the conditions in different environments. So, you know, it's been a fun life, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I could write a whole book about it, and you would all laugh.
Oh, so can you look, since before we go to why you're really here to talk about your work, and I do want to get to that. What's one of your one story you'd like to share maybe with our listeners about a pilot story, something that happened or came down that's fresh in your memory?
Well, Barbara, since we're going to talk about life a little bit and about us and all this, I'll share you a little story. When I flew actually in Sweden back in the late 90s, I was there a couple of years in between, because I was in Switzerland before that. And then I came back to fly a couple of years in Sweden before I went down to Belgium and Luxembourg. And what happened was, this absolute clear day, blue sky, no clouds. And we came in, there's an island east of Sweden called Gotland. Gotland, we flew from there into Stockholm, the international airport, Stockholm. And as we're flying, I was co-pilot on that flight. And I saw an object right in front of us, a dark object. And I said to my friend, hey, look, what's that? And he said, yeah, look, what's that? And it came, and it passed a little bit more on his side, but he saw it like a dark triangular shaped object. And I saw something like a baseball hat, triangular shaped, something like that. And it passed us. And I called ATC, and I asked them, so what's the traffic we have up here? And they said, no, you don't have any traffic around at all. And then we were just laughing about it. My friend, though, although he wasn't all this interested in all this, he actually did some investigation, and he came up with maybe that was something military. And actually, I think I'll agree with that, because, you know, it could have well been one of ours rather than someone else's. Considering when you look at the triangles they had in Belgium back in '94, which was an amazing story. I don't know if you know all that, Barbara.
I don't know that story. I'm not familiar with
some of our listeners may, but let me just say this, because I did meet some of the Belgian Air Force pilots who've been involved in this. And in '94, there was a big triangle with a steady red light and 3 white lights at the edges of the triangle, flying around soundlessly around a little bit on the southern part of Belgium, over the countryside first. And people saw this, and they started to report this. And then there were thousands of people reporting this, including police. And this came to the military, okay? Now, what happened was the military decided to send up F-16s behind this thing, okay? And it was getting dark. And so a squadron with 2 airplanes went up. And this thing, they say, had an altitude about 5,000 feet when it was floating around, okay? And when those fighters came, this thing just in a second went right out onto the ground. And because, you know, it was dark and you cannot see anything with the radar against the ground because you just get ground echoes, right? So they were chasing this, and then eventually they had to return to base because of the fuel. So when they returned to base, this thing came up again, and thousands of people saw it. And then they sent another squadron up, and the same thing happened again. So in total, the Belgian Air Force spent 75 minutes chasing this thing. And actually, which was more interesting, was that the chief of the Air Force, I forget his name now, he actually went public the next day trying to explain this to people, which is very unusual that they would do this. But suddenly after a day, it was all shushed up. So somebody said, don't talk about this. And it was them being very quiet about it after that. But I have seen, and I know this, that 5 radar stations saw this object. 2 were military, 1 was NATO, and 2 were civilian. And incidentally enough, through contacts, I've actually seen one of the real radar films on this. So it was a real thing, but there were many, many witnesses as well. Quite a big one, actually. Yeah.
So all your pilots, I bet, had a heyday with that, talking about it.
Yes, certainly. You know, and I used to have a good insider. He is unfortunately have left our planet now, and he was somebody who was contacted at a young age. He was an Air Force pilot, and he had actually things happening in the Air Force as well. And he actually became the head in the Swedish Air Force once for UFO investigation. Huh. And he worked with the CIA in that as well. Huh. And he wrote a book, and the manuscript just disappeared when he died. Nobody knows where. Very unfortunate.
Mm. Well, but I'm sorry for the loss of your friend and his work. And so thank you for being here, Ralph, and sharing your work and your stories. And I know you have a lot that you want to talk about, but I do want to regress one more thing. And could we start at maybe at your UFO reading at the age of 15? Can you talk about that? Or about your experience?
I think, Barbara, better because, you know, when I was reading those books, it started through a friend of mine who threw me some magazines about this, but it caught my interest, you know. And then when I started to read Daniel Fry's books, oh, that was, you know, really ringing the bell inside of me. But then really, you know, as I had to go to school and finish school, and I started the flying and all this again, then what happened was I was just finished as a flight instructor, and I started to work as a flight instructor in Pennsylvania. This was in Reading, Pennsylvania. And what happened here was there was a morning at 8 o'clock. I was supposed to have a student. The student didn't come, and we had some bunks back in the school there in rooms, you know. So I went back there to lay down a couple of hours because the next student would come at 10. And what happened was I just lay down, closed my eyes, and somebody was pulling on my leg, you know, my pants. And I'm looking up, and I'm in a room that's similar, but everything is far more modern here, like a chromium bed was all white, and there are like 3 or 4 men there in you know, overalls, but they're tight overalls, in shining like pearl, you know, like crystal. And they're like pulling on me and saying, "What are you doing here?" They're telling me this in English. That's how I got it anyway. So they're telling me, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here." You know, I started to fight them off. I said, "Leave me alone, leave me alone." And then, you know, the next thing as I'm turning my head away, I'm back in my room and I'm saying, "What's going on here? I have no clue what's going on." You know, and in those days, I didn't have any idea about time travel, dimensions, or all these things. I had absolutely no idea about those things. So I think what came into my head was I must have done some type of dimensional travel or time travel. But I said, no, how could I do that? You know. And then I told some of my colleagues this, and they said, you must have been dreaming. I said, no, I never went to sleep. But then I didn't want to talk more about it because I didn't get anybody to help me or support me, you know. Mm-hmm. So that was really something that made me awaken to all this a lot more. So, you know, it was a hands-on experience.
Right. When you have an experience like this, it brings you back to your reality, and then you become a seeker, okay? Because you try and figure out that story into your reality. And so that means you were expanded. So now you have to go out and try and work it all out. At least that's how I find it to be. And a lot of the people who come on the show and tell their extraordinary stories, that story is just the foundation or catalyst for all the next things that happen in their lives.
Well, I realized this, Barbara, because I think somebody pushed me to do all this, you know. They pushed me all the way to go through all this because I was going on a path maybe that, you know, I was a little bit sad in those days because I was looking around our planet and I saw people were so egoistical and, you know, they just try to grab for themselves. They no compassion for others. And so, you know, it was a period when everything was a little bit depressing for me. And it's usually the times like something explodes within us, you know. This happened to a lot of people. And it was a little bit amazing, actually, for me, all that happened. But then, you know, a few years later, I decided to go back to Europe and try my luck to see if aviation would be better over there. And then it's like I remembered some book I read from someone, and I searched this guy up. And from there, it just, you know, it started. And then it was like 6 years of, life. And I mean, it was really hectic. And, you know, you get different stories from different people and all this. And I just said, I just want to know what's true. That's all I want to know, you know, but people are telling me a lot of different things. And at the end, you know, you're so confused, right? It's like you go on the internet today and you try to read. Oh, boy, the confusion you can have, I tell you, that could be amazing.
And
yeah. So, you know, then I started to develop naturally. Things came like telepathy and things like this. And later on, when I was back in Florida, seeing my step family there, I was living where I used to work then. And, you know, I had an out-of-body experience, which was amazing.
Tell us that experience, Ralph?
Yeah, sure. I have to really start how it starts in the day. You know, I used to live close to the Melbourne airport, and the twins, they have a, you know, like spring camp and all this down there. And so I stayed in one there.
How old are you, Ralph, when you have this experience?
Well, that will be back in 1981, not 1982, something like this. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what happened was, I'm there, and you know, it's a long way to walk from the airport down to the beach, you know. But it's like I was just feeling like I'm floating down to the beach, no effort at all. And I spent my day there, had a lot of fun, and walking back, everything just felt light, you know. So I think already at this stage I was separating from my body, and I never realized that. But at night, what happened was I went into the bed and I went on my stomach with my arms, you know, spread out a little bit, putting my head to the left. And I didn't feel like I was on the bed. It felt like I was floating above it. Mm-hmm. Then I felt pressure on my shoulders, not like you would grab with your hand, but just pressure coming over my shoulders. Things started to spin, okay? Mm-hmm. And then I just said, help me, God. You know, that was my reaction, okay? And the next thing I do, Barbara, I'm standing in the room. I can see the room very clear, but I'm in the air, close to the ceiling, and there's a big mirror, and in front of me is a man, and distinctly what I remember is like he had a striped gold and black tie, and he had a jacket, and he looked oriental, and he was holding me, and I wasn't scared, but I was like surprised, you know. And I just put my head on the side, I remember that, and I said, go. And as I did that, I was right in my bed again, looking up, and he was still up there in the air looking down at me. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the funny part was, I just pinched my cheek so bad because I wanted to see I'm not dreaming, right?
Right,
and,
right.
Right? And in those days, I was already communicating with an alien intelligence. And anyway, when I did this, and he was still there for a while, and then it disappeared. You could just see him go up in smoke. And then I tried to contact those aliens again, and then they told me something I didn't have any clue about, Barbara. They said, you have the power of blessing. And I can tell you, I said, I don't know how to do this, but I just had to use my heart. And I blessed my body in that room so much that night, you wouldn't believe it.
Wow, that's a huge experience to take all in. They say they give you just enough so your mind doesn't fold, right?
True. But funny enough, I already had that communication. I started a communication with aliens, and at first I didn't want to believe that either. But fortunately,
Let's start with that,
this lady, like you, Barbara, who was very clairvoyant, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, oh, yes, they're talking to you. And actually, they did say to me a lot of things that people would come by, this and this person. I would talk to this and this person about this. All that stuff happened, Every single bit of that happened, what they said. And they did give me some really, really heavy stuff to think about. And, they said to me once, you're your own law and your own judge. And that's really quite profound if you look at it. Mm-hmm. I thought about it as karma in the beginning, but it's a lot more than that. Something to think about, folks.
Yeah, can you say that again to our listeners? You're
your own law and your own judge.
Because I know, like, when you have a near-death experience, a lot of people will have a life review. I didn't, but some people do, and where you do relive everything that you've done in your lifetime. And,
right.
And so you do have to kind of judge if you did a good job or where you screwed up, or, could you have done better? Those sorts of questions come to mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're all faced with situations, when we react a lot from our subconscious of what we know. So, humans are far more complex than they believe and that they understand. We all want to reach there to be free. We want to be part of the galactic community again and, have all this freedom that we all should have. Mm. We're here to experience. And funny enough, recently I read somebody wrote, we're here on vacation. How is that?
Oh, doesn't feel like vacation to me.
No, I know. Most people will say that. But actually, this planet, they said, was designed to be a vacation planet to be able to experience this physical dimension.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, maybe originally, but now, there's a lot of work to do on this planet. Like you were saying, in order to be able, number one, to be a peaceful planet, in order to join a galactic federation of planets.
There you go, Barbara.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the highlight, I would say, came back in 85, 86, when I really reached what I would say a first stage of enlightenment. Mm-hmm. And to describe that to you folks, it's like you become free of anything from this planet. All your desires, all your thoughts become complete peace, and you become like a sun. All that energy you carry within you just flows outward, and you become quiet, and you learn to see things. You don't judge things anymore. You just see things, and you will be there to take action when the time is right for it. Mm-hmm. So I lived like that 6 months. That was a bliss. So if I can do that, I know that all of you listening, plus many, many, many more, can do all of this. Mm-hmm. And it's a wonderful thing.
And it's to be neutral, more forgiving, more non-judgmental, more opened up. Let's start there with some of your things that you've learned and you'd like to share. Your list. Shall we go? A little bit.
Absolutely, Barbara. I'm going to try to do this as logically, and what I'm trying to do, people, is emphasize a little bit on the basic things that we tend to forget every day. A lot of this is really nothing new, and it's all a lot of common sense. But I really do this to emphasize for all of you, every single one of you, because none of us are more and none of us are less. You know, we're all here and we can all share. In higher civilizations, they do that a lot more than we do because they don't have to hide things. They don't have to be scared. But let's go in. So first of all, you know, how much more we are. I think a lot of people just don't realize that. We are so much more. First of all, people have to understand that we're multidimensional beings, that we really live in many, many dimensions at once, even in parallel universes at once. You know, the universe is so complex and we wouldn't understand it. So, you know, it's all this that we have lived in a distorted truth a long time. We've been programmed and a lot of stuff has been hidden from us.
On this planet, for sure.
Absolutely. We all know this. Mm-hmm. And, you know, but people have to think about this. And therefore, in order to change that, we have to learn to do that. And that's not the easiest thing to do because it sits so deep within us. And it's like I said to you before, we're working from our subconscious a lot of times. People can blow up, for example. People can do stupid things that they don't really want to do, that they regret afterwards. Mm-hmm. But that's because we're so deeply programmed to be in a certain way. And we need to work on that with great effort every single minute of our life. So, you know, all this, the one that we really are and the unity that we really are, it's like you could think of, like I said, in an airplane, we're some individuals, but we function as one. Now, that should be our goal on this planet, which is important, that we all unite and we learn to share, learn to respect, learn to listen. Because, you know, even the most poor beggar in the street, he can sit with so much information, but a lot of people just look down at him. And somebody posted a video with a little girl when she played like poor and went into a restaurant and people just, get out of here, get out of here. And then she was like dressed well and all this. And then people would help her. Mm-hmm. So we people do judge too much. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to learn to get out of that. And we also have to learn, Barbara, to understand our capabilities. We think we're helpless humans. And, you know, you ask people, I ask a lot of my colleagues when I work, so tell them a little bit about this control system with the banks and blah, blah. And, well, you know all this.
Yeah.
And the listeners, I think, know this as well, how we're controlled by governments and by banks and money and all this. But, you know, they say, what can I do about that? So, you know, but that's what I'm saying. We all have so much more. And, you know, we are all energy at the beginning, and this energy can make a big difference. But it's just that people want to see the result with their physical eyes. But first of all, everybody has to realize we're so much more than physical. But it's hard to understand that when you're living on this planet and you see this every day and you see all the bad stuff going on here, you know. So understand that we do have capabilities. And just like I had some of these capabilities come out of me before, I know that all of us, we have it. And even Edgar Cayce said that. He said that we all have this capability. We just have to train for it. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to go in and train for it, but by growing and becoming more united and expanding our consciousness and awareness, all these things will come automatically within you, like it did within me. I have my own experience to talk about.
Mm-hmm. And we each have a piece of this puzzle that's important, right? That we're so very important. It's not a coincidence that we're here at this time, right now, in this moment.
I agree with you, Barbara, because, I mean, we're genetic royalty in this galaxy. You know, we're really a mix here with all kinds of things. And that's important because, you know, we have a lot of negatives and positives, but it's part of our creation, part of the whole thing. that this is so important to remember. So, it's not to try to say that I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with demons or reptilians or bad guys. No, just look at them, what they're doing. Learn how they function. Learn to accept them for what they are. If you have a chance to be there and you feel like stopping them, then follow your heart. That's how simple it is. It's not that we're going to be doormats that people are just going to use and abuse as they wish. That's not the thing. But it's still to learn to understand that this is part of an evolutionary experience, and all this is recorded within the universe, and it's open to anybody who can tap into it.
Mm-hmm. So you think that we're on a planet then that is a dual, that has duality. It's black or white. In a way, it's good or bad, but in a way we have.
It is, Barbara, but I'm going to get into that a little later in the show when we talk about the universe, because
okay.
I need to talk about this so people understand why we have this duality and feminine and masculine. Because, if you really go beyond a lot of this, there is no femininity and there is no masculinity. It's totally beyond our concept of thinking. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not even going to try to explain that, because I couldn't even understand all that on my own, because as a human mind, forget that. Mm-hmm. We won't be able to understand the universe. It's like some of these very, very advanced beings that I've read about, which also reassemble some of the beings I had contact with. They just said, we're not like you. We don't eat like you. And all I can understand is they're like energy, and they're like big fields of information. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to understand. They said when we travel, we project travel. We don't travel in spaceships.
Mm-hmm. I've read that.
Yeah. So it's so advanced and so far ahead of us. So, it's we'll just have to do our best here. That's what I think.
But they can give us hope, right? And that's what we're here today, to give us hope for us humans, that we can be made aware, and by being made aware, that gives us choice.
True. But, also in this density, things move very slow. And, here to manifest things are not all that easy. A lot of people pray, a lot of people meditate and do a lot of things to try to get this energy to change. And it takes a lot of time. And again, we need energy, Mm-hmm. When we have a big heart, we have energy because we get connected to our source. But just using the mind and try to think you're going to accomplish this, it's not very powerful when you sit on your own. Now, I know there are people out there who are meeting groups and all this, and they do the best they can together to focus on something. And incidentally, I do have a friend in South America who's a famous contactee. His name is Sixtopas Wells, and he works with 56 countries in different groups. And you can go on the internet and look him up. So you'll see his story.
How do you spell that, Ralph?
It's 6 like you would do with a number, and then 2, sixto.
Uh-huh.
And then Paz, like P-A-Z.
Okay.
And Wells.
Okay.
He's very interesting, and he's a good man. He's a serious man in what he's doing. Right. I've been to his home. I met him. So, we stay in touch when we can, but he's very busy.
And bringing groups together. It's kind of like in a very small modality. We're getting bigger with our Cosmic Oracle show, and is just bringing people together and connecting them. And that's so important. And I understand what you're saying about everything happens within, right? So when we come back from the break, we'll talk about that, because I know that's very important to you.
Yeah, well, I have a bunch of stuff to try to cover today, if I can, Barbara, because it's for all of you folks to have in everyday life to think about for yourself, and it is about empowering yourself at the end. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about exactly what it means to empower yourself, because that can be a little bit, dubious to talk about with people, and it's. Sometimes when there are certain words we talk about a lot, but we don't really have a real meaning for it. And big words at times, But we'll talk about that when we have the break, after the break. Are we having the break now?
I think it's just about to come up. I'm going to check right now. Usually it'll come up by itself, but today nothing seems to be working. So I'm going to just go in really quick and check it out and see. Usually we go on break right about now. We might have 2 minutes, so we could, I do want to say you can contact Ralph Rodehag on his Facebook page, and that's the best place to contact you, Ralph.
Sure it is. If people want to write an email, they can do that on my last name at hotmail.com. Okay, and that is, can you say that again, please? So that's Rodehag at hotmail.com. Okay, RODEHAG at hotmail.com. Sounds great. We might have, okay. So, and then also I do want, we have, I think, one more minute for our listeners. I have a kind of new friends that I met them on Facebook, and that's what happens when you do these shows and meet different people. But there is a wonderful conference coming up in New Mexico. It's the Human Origins Conference, 2019, and that's March 22nd and 23rd in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. And you can go to humanoriginsconference.com. That's humanoriginsconference.com. I don't get any compensation for any of this. I just think it sounds like an amazing conference that you might not want to miss. And what's cool about it is they're also doing a long distance. I forget what you call it, where you can listen in and be there. Not a Skype, but I forget what you call it.
A visiting
something where
Syrian
like
diplomat
$20
reported
or something
today
you can
that their population is evolving rapidly
watch
and
everything
advancing
happening.
into a
So I think that's awesome too.
dimensional
So it's a good way to
consciousness.
contact
They are
and
seeking
connect with
peace
others.
with all
Okay,
cosmic
I think that
cultures,
is our
which
break.
may mean that the Earth will
Sounds like
be
it, so
asked
we'll
to
be
join
right back,
the
everybody. Don't go
prestigious
away.
Galactic Federation of Light Alliances. Please join Debbie West and Michael Hathaway on Lost Knowledge, Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio A, for the latest breaking news on the Star Visitor's peaceful contact and the ongoing project of cleansing the Earth.
Who are you? I am the architect. I created the Matrix. I've been waiting for you. Why am I here? You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision, which has led you inexorably here. You haven't answered my question. The Matrix is older than you know. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equation.
Choice. The problem is choice.
Right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Be here Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Private Eye Matrix Revealed with Monique Lassonde.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically autonomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday at 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free, but there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver Eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Collision Course is back. Schedule will be on Revolution Radio every Saturday night, 6 to 8 p.m. You get outer space. You get honest answers, real researchers, truthful answers, and a place to engage with questions. Take part in the discussion. Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com hosts Collision Course every Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Time.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs. Memory is not as good as it used to be. Ankles swell late in the day. Chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello and welcome back to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and we have with us our guest today, RALPH RODEHAG, who's had a lifetime, his whole lifetime of contact and having spiritual experiences. He's also been a captain of an airplane captain for, I think he said 40 years. You'll have to correct me on that, Ralph. So welcome back to our show.
Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome. And I do want to tell our listeners, thank you. I am having trouble with the comment section on Facebook, so I'm not able to comment on anyone or see who's there or what's happening. So thank you for tuning in, and you're welcome to make comments with each other. That's kind of why I do the show on Facebook, so that we start growing a community where you can connect and actually talk with each other and give commentary, suggestions, and ideas with one another. I do want to thank you for being generous and keeping Revolution Radio on the air. We have a need for $2,550 a month to keep Revolution Radio on the air. So far this month, we've had donations of $1,379. So please generously. The way you do that is you go to freedomslips.com and hit that donate button, and know that 100% of your donation goes directly to the station to keep us on the air internationally and for years now. And so this is our 4th year with the Cosmic Oracle Show. So I'm really happy to be here and really honored to have Ralph, my new friend, on the show today, talking about his experiences, and he would like to share with us. And we left off with empowering ourselves. So what have you learned about empowering yourself, Ralph, that you'd like to share with our listeners today?
All right, Barbara. So we're going to go into this. And, I want you to understand this. We talk about our thought, our mental thinking, okay? Now, that's a tool. That's just a tool of us, okay, that we can manifest with. Today, most people manifest by having an idea, and they do it with physical things. Now, we have more power to do that, But the thing is, this psyche that we carry is a lot bigger than the mental thinking that we have. And that's something that really is able to create so much more. And it's like Jesus said once, you can move a mountain with your faith, right? So, this is something people have to understand, that it's not just the human mind. We have something more. Since I said before in the show, we're multidimensional. And this whole universal mind has a lot of answers. It's like a big ocean, with all those ideas and experiences swimming out there, and we can tap into that. It's like you tune the radio on the frequency. You get the right frequency. You can have the answer. And we all do that. We get those lights of thread every now and then that hits us. And we understand things. We see things. We get solutions to things. So that's important. So now to empower yourself. Why do I say that? What does it really mean? It means, people, that you really have to go inside of yourself. And you have to start asking all those questions you want answers on from yourself. Not to constantly search outside. You really, 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 and I'm saying this, go inside and learn to trust your inside, because you have everything within you, absolutely everything. And that's really the empowerment, because if you want to let other people dictate your life and how you're going to believe and what you believe in, then you're actually empowering them. It's like we do with the churches. We do that. We've done that with the gurus and all these things. People, become like slaves for them. Why should they be that? We are all humans. We're all equally free. So, believe in what you have, and that contribution you can make can be so powerful for so many people. So please, people, understand, believe in who you are and in your whole being. Everything you feel, think, and smell, and whatever. So study yourself and learn and analyze. When you have problems with yourself, why do I have this? What can I do to solve this? All of your multidimensional beings that you are, they're there to help you if you ask it. It's all a cooperation. We cannot force anybody, but we can ask help sometimes. And the best thing is to ask it from within you. And I know you know what I'm talking about.
I do. So would you suggest like meditation is a good way, or do they have to meditate? Or how do you get in touch with everything that's within you?
Well,
what's one of your modalities?
Barbara, there are many, many ways. And it is like, if you remember my little symbol, I have to jump here a little bit ahead. With a circle, which is the universe, right? And in the center of this circle, I put a little dot. Now, if you would look at that sideways, you would see like an axis running down from the center down. And then you would see a spiral going down all the way from that circle until it touches. It becomes smaller and smaller, and it will touch the axis at the end. So it'll be like a cone, but a spiral. And that spiral is actually a symbol I received as a good symbol for the universe and how it really works with all the different dimensions and everything. And if you learn to open the door to the center, you will have the answers, because that's the source or the spirit, whichever you want to call it. That's all up to yourselves. But if you learn to open the door within you to that, you will have the answers you need. And the thing is to live there and express yourself here, because that way, when we do that, we do the natural evolution of the universe.
I love that. I love that saying, live there, but express here, because a lot of people can get hung up in living there and not taking what they've learned, this tremendous amount of information, and not express it here. So I love that. Live there, but express it here.
True. And what I wanted to say, Barbara, when it comes down to all this, what we're doing today, yoga, meditation, whatever we do, please, folks, these are good tools. And I say that again, tools.
Right.
But it's not the end of the day, because a lot of people get stuck in this. And I've seen that too many times. And then they believe, if I do this, everything will be fine. No, people, you have to find what's inside of you, what you're going to express, and don't be scared to express who you are, because this is something that we suffer so much of on this planet, where people are scared. And you don't have to be scared. Be you. Stand up to who you are. All of you. You know, we have to be able to do that. Because that's the only way we're going to be able to say no to things. We have a choice. Always a choice of what we want to do. We don't have to judge people doing things that we don't want to do, but we have a choice to say yes or no to things. Very important. So, you know, people, listen to me. Find your own way, because you do have the answers, and have faith in that. You will have the answers. And the tools you can use to meditate, walk in the nature. Personally, Barbara, you know that I play golf, and golf gives me nature, and it makes me focus on what I do. And sometimes I just contemplate at home, thinking, and I get a lot of answers that way. So there are millions of ways, and everybody's got to find that way that's most effective for them.
Right, that works for them and their body, right? Because
that's correct.
You're in a body here, so.
Absolutely, because we all need to kind of get into ourselves. You know, we're direct expressions of spirit, but spirit goes into soul, creates a personality. This personality will eventually be born in the vehicle of a physical body. But, you know, too many times we want to identify ourselves as this vehicle. And believe me, people, we are one. We are not individuals. A lot of people say, well, I lived this in this life. No, the reality is, what I learned a lot later in my life was that you want to be any life you want, you can tap into that. You want to be the Tutankhamun in Egypt, you can tap into that. And you can live all that experience, and you can see it all within you. We all have that access and all that ability, because in reality, we're just one. So it's important to understand that nobody's more, nobody's less. This is really important. You follow me?
I do. And so I want to back up a little bit about the direct expression of the soul. So the direct expression
of the spirit, of the source.
Right, of the source into soul. So I had someone ask me that the other day. They go, well, Barbara, what's the difference between consciousness and the soul?
So, you know, if you look at the beginning of the universe, right? Everything as we could understand, because when a universe doesn't exist, everything is in balance. Nothing moves. So a universe, for it to exist and to express form like we have here and also in other dimensions, it needs to move. It needs to have consciousness to move, and it needs energy to do that. And if you look at this, you know, the light comes from consciousness. So consciousness creates light, because consciousness creates movement. It's just like we're doing here. So, you know, you do have to understand this movement initially, how it goes. And the consciousness eventually is source. And that's a huge consciousness that nobody really can comprehend unless you are the complete source. And that's beyond infinity, you know. Right. So this is really big stuff that we're talking about right now.
I know, I love it. This is where I love it.
So, this is the thing that the spirit eventually will split, and it will go into different dimensions. It will create form, and to have that form, you need to have the soul, because the soul is an individual for a certain time, and I don't really want to call it a personality anymore. I just want to say we are an expression right now, okay? And this expression, all that we experience will be recorded. It will be there. So if somebody ever wants to come and see me, which I doubt very much, Barbara, but okay, if they want to be me, they have at least a chance later on somewhere along the universe. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, so this is the thing, which I'm really trying to say, that we all have access to anything we want to be. And this is something, of course, that lies ahead with evolution. But there are civilizations out there, they're fully able to do that. They're fully able to share all the experience we carry on this planet. And they can see it all, and they can study it and learn from it. So we do learn from ourselves, actually, as we say, since we're one, although we learn from one another and we share it the way we do here on this planet for the moment. Mm-hmm. So, this is true. So, again, people, please search your own way, the most important thing in life. Because we're also unique, and all that we add to the experience is very valuable. So don't think that you're not valuable, because you are.
Yeah, you were just reading my mind, because I was just thinking that we are so amazingly unique. And in that uniqueness is such strength too, to be expressed.
Right. Other thing, Barbara, I really want to say as well, because I think we're running a little bit on time. So I'm going to go through this a little bit with you quicker.
Let's do it.
Yeah. It's also, people, learn to serve other people. Don't think the way we are today, because we've been taught to think about ourselves, to be the ego and just to take care of ourselves and not care for our neighbors and people. All these good things with family and community and all this, it's dying more and more. People fight for that wherever you are. Keep things together. Help one another. Help the old lady over the street. Help the sick people. Do this. Remember they're part of you. And remember to be compassionate. And remember to really, really help people. Because it is so important to serve other people. Because we're all just serving ourselves at the end. Mm-hmm. And this is how we unite our planet more and more. Because we got to learn to build trust, not to be scared of one another. We're so split, people, in different countries, cultures, languages, and we have such a hard time to understand each other. Now, I know people from all over the world, and I tell you folks, in my own experience, everybody's wonderful. It doesn't matter what we look like, If we're green, if we're purple, if we're black, if we're yellow or white, whatever. I pinch my thumb here in front of my screen right now with my index finger, and I say, we're just a very small planet in a huge, infinite universe. So why can't we not just be humans on this planet? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like unite as humans and take back this planet, right?
Right. And people, another thing, please don't be scared. Just try to do the best you can in life with the experience and understanding you have. We all are different. Some people can do amazing things, some will do less, but they're equally important to do. Mm-hmm. Barbara, I used to tell my wife, whether you steal a needle or you steal $1 billion, it doesn't matter. The thought of stealing is universal, and it has nothing to do with the values we give it. Mm-hmm. If somebody steals a needle, nobody's going to say anything on this planet. But if somebody steals $1 million only, that's going to be big hassle. And the cops are going to be called out and investigations and all this. So, we value things, but we don't value the thought behind it. So it's always the thought behind it. What kind of quality do you want in life? Do you want to be an honest person? Do you want to be a loving person? or do you want to be a hateful person? But you do have to understand all of them, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't try to take sides, because the sides create polarity. And we should try to go to become unity in that center that I spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing. So, again, it's great that we talk about the universe and all these people. I do this, but I do want to understand that my own contact made it very clear to me that, no, you can't understand it. It is something to have in your mind, but we cannot understand it. We can get threads of light sometimes, but it's very difficult to understand from our perspective on this planet.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
is it then to relax and let go a little bit
Sure. We don't have to be so theoretical. We're living here. We should enjoy what we're doing here. It's a wonderful planet. We have a lot of things to do. Today, at least, we have the ability to travel and see things. But you go back 100 years when people were stuck in their village and they never got out, and just to travel like 20 miles, that was like going to another country,
Mm-hmm.
So, we're blessed with a lot of things. So, it's see things like if an old friend of mine told me in an early stage, and he was very spiritual, he said, see everything positive, because it is in the end. But, choose your own path or what you want to do. And this is, again, really, really important, because this is really what we do, because we have our own experience in life, and you must trust what you learn, not what other people always tell you. Because, it's like, Barbara, I would say to you now, you fly an airplane like this and this and this. Do you think you could fly it?
No way.
No, you need your own experience, don't you?
Yeah, I need like how many 1,000 hours under my belt, right? With some help.
So,
and I would have to have the desire to want to do that. See?
I know.
Right? You follow your desire. That's part of the key to choose your own path.
Barbara, here, please, I'm going to use this. Desire can be very ego, but follow the heart. When you know that you're feeling, your heart and your mind goes together, then you go on the right track.
Right.
This is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Other things is for you people as well. Don't be scared to talk with people about things. Go out and talk out of your heart and share with people, because the more you do this openly and with common sense, other people will come and talk to you. And don't just blindly accept things. Investigate things, analyze, and research.
Discernment.
Yes, this is very important, because there's a lot of stuff out there, and they're trying to bully us with all kinds of debunking and all this kind of stuff. Also, spiritually, it's very easy to become a doormat if you go on the esoteric path and just be there and say, oh, just accept, just forgive. Come on. Love is not about this. So, this is important. But the important is to remember this, not to judge and not to be scared. And remember, the most important part is you can transcend all those things you have within you, that you don't like things, or I don't like that person. Come on, transcend yourself. Work towards something better, and you will see that it's going to make a result. I've done that many times with myself when I didn't like a person. At the end of the day, we were really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we need to work with ourselves a lot,
And find out how it works and how it doesn't work. And that means finding out, making a lot of mistakes along the way, but getting right back.
Because, of course, that's how you gain your experience. Because, like somebody once said, wise men, they make mistakes, but they only do them once. So this is true. We have to make mistakes to learn. Yeah. We do have to do that. So now I want to come into a big word again, Barbara. Can I do that?
It's your show. I totally have total faith in you, Ralph.
It's our talk, Barbara.
It is.
Now, here comes this big word that everybody says, love. Like people say God. Mm-hmm. And, people always blame God for everything. But let's talk about love. So what is this word love? You know, it's a huge word. And what does it really mean to love? Well, most of us would think, yeah, okay, we're kind to somebody, we're compassionate, we help someone. But is love really all that? Isn't it much, much more? Think about this, Barbara. A kid runs into the street. The mother comes angry, grabs the ear of the kid and pull him off the street and said, you don't do that. Well, she's doing that out of love, out of compassion. She's using anger, but she's still doing this out of compassion. So, you know, love is so much bigger at times. And there are times when love can be very hard. And Jesus even showed that when he walked there in the temple. He was angry, but that was out of love. He wanted to show a point. And there are other points, you know, even in high civilizations, it can get really hard, very tough. But it is meant for compassion and for the evolution of people. So, you know, love is something to really think about. It's not always about being kind, but it is about helping people. And sometimes you need stronger language, you need other actions. And people said, well, but you're not loving. But maybe they actually are. And maybe their intention is completely just that. So, you know, love is something that people should think about, really, really think about. Because it isn't just about feeling well. You know, it's very easy to go into the trap that your ego feels good, right? And you feel, oh, I'm feeling great now. I have energy and I'm feeling good. But you don't know how people around you, how they feel. And what are you going to do for them? Are you going to serve them? Or are you just going to go there walking in your own well-being, you know? Just like many cabal people do today. They have everything they want and they do anything they want. They have people working for them and they feel well in what they do. But at the end of the day, they serve themselves. So, you know, when you can, you know the saying, shared joy is true joy. And this is the truth.
And that's a higher vibration, too. That is huge. It's a very different vibration.
And that's what we work for, to raise the vibrational level of all this. Okay? So, you know, we spoke about this with negativity. So people, don't close your eyes to this. Don't run away from this. Study it, learn it. I don't say you have to use all these bad things that people do, rob and steal and lie and all this. But understand it and understand how it's used, because the day when you learn to discern well, you will understand these things. Like the old saying said, know your enemy. Although they're not our enemy, they're just in another stage of evolution. That's all.
Or a good mirror to learn about yourself, right?
There you go. There you go. So, you know, all this creates our human consciousness. And this is really so important, because if we learn to live strong as a humanity, all this stuff that we have today, that's going to break down. So the positive thinking that we're going to do and try to unite this planet, it's all going to break this down. And, you know, we do have to build a strong net. And the aliens won't do this for us. I tell you this. In my own experience, we're not going to have help from the outside. We're going to have to do this, folks. So, but, you know, be part of it.
They've helped you with teaching you, right? Who you are, why you're here, and what the big story is.
This they will do. They will provide information for us, but we're the one that's going to have to do it. It's right. Not enough to sit there and become the book. You know, we got to take action together. And the only way we can do this is, like I said before, Barbara, expose the truth. Let the truth out. And I hope for you people who are out there and who really can sit on some inside information, come out with it. Go through people that you will trust, or come out on your own and do it. Some have done it, and, you know, it's not an easy life to do that, because you get hassled and you get, you know, most of the people I know who's gone out, people have called them and said, we're going to kill you if you keep talking. It's a dangerous thing, but you got to be brave. And if you have the faith, just do it, because it's so important that we get this information out there, because that's the only way we're going to expose the crooks.
Yeah. And we need heroes, right? Because
sure, but we all are heroes, all of us, and we all have a responsibility to make this happen. So we're all equally responsible for all that happens. Nobody can escape that, Barbara. Nobody.
Mm-mm.
Nobody.
Yeah, because you don't want to look back after you're on the other side and the planet's like in some kind of a disaster area, and you say, I always say, not on my watch. Well, I was there, so that makes me responsible to make the changes, be aware of what needs to be done and take action.
This is the truth. And also really listen to other people around you, because when there is a problem, find the solution. It's not important that I'm going to say it or you're going to say it or someone else. Find the best solution and discuss it as adults in between one another, and try to see every aspect of what could happen. This is practical stuff. So, find the solution together, because many minds together will create a better solution.
It's true. It's true.
And it's not about politics. It's not about taking sides or anything. This is all about just common sense to do the best that will be the best for all.
Mm-hmm. And that it's more like a circle, though, isn't it? Like your circle. I like that symbol.
Yes.
Because it's not a hierarchy system. It's everyone brings something of value to the table.
Absolutely. Everybody has free speech, and they have the free will to express who they are. Mm-hmm. And this is important. The main thing is just compassion and respect. Very important. Mm-hmm. So, Barbara, I'm just going to share this with the listeners now, folks. I'm working on a project with someone else who's very knowledgeable, and we're going to bring this all around the world, and it's eventually going to be a website, and it's going to be open for everyone to come in with what they want, and it's going to be in different parts from what we work with healing, spiritual things, UFOs, secret projects, all the stuff, technology. But eventually this is built for us, so we will have a net over the world, and we can share things, and there will be conferences eventually where everybody can come, and it will be free speech, free information, where we can all share, and we can look and compare information, see what looks good, and what we can use, and that can be useful for us in everyday life, because there are a lot of parts that we need to improve, like the pollution of our planet. We're ruining our dear Mother Earth. Mm-hmm. And technology, naturally, that will be much better. Other ways of communication, ways of learning to accept one another. Because, it's difficult today, because we've been indoctrinated to think in certain ways. But I'll tell you this, Barbara, I know a lot of Muslims, wonderful people, and they're so kind, many of them, not at all aggressive like we've been taught so many years. Mm-hmm. So, there are wonderful people out there on this planet, and I go out there, they're just my brothers and sisters, just like we are, you and me.
Yeah, that's what I love about you, Ralph. You're an ambassador, a cosmic ambassador for sure.
Well, I just want to try to help to share what I have for mm-hmm. people to think about, and to try to use this on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. Most people are so occupied with work and all this that they tend to forget this when they're living on a daily basis with families, with kids. But, we should try to incorporate this in our daily lives, and try to, every thought we think, every word we say, they used to say in China, silence is gold, and the Chinese, they work that way. And, the Chinese now are developing artificial intelligence for warfare, which is going to be like a strategy computer that will act much faster. So, the Chinese, they do a lot of stuff behind our backs. And it's very interesting to read about this, because, I have pretty good intelligence on that. And it's very, very interesting to see how the Chinese are keeping quiet, but they are expanding a lot. So, don't count the Chinese away. Mm-hmm. No way. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't think we do. I think yeah, I won't go there because we're getting towards the end of our show. So I want to stay focused with what you're doing. But yeah.
Yeah, well, this is just what I wanted to say. So people, keep an eye open, keep your awareness up, become aware. You know, ignorance is one of the biggest faults we have as humans. And those are things we have to learn to become aware. It's like, think about Bruce Lee when he was in martial arts, right? His awareness was amazing with all the people around him, because just a person would think that they would move against him. He would know it. He was so sensitive and so aware. And this is something we all should train, to become really aware, not to be thinking about something else when we're doing something, but really to focus on what we're doing and practice that all the time, every day. Because when that awareness grows and you become more and more focused on what you're doing, you're also going to be much more aware of what's going on around you. So this is a step for most humans to do.
And that's to focus on their awareness, and then they'll grow, and with growth comes change, and with a higher vibration. True.
And, you know, with awareness comes mindfulness. Mindfulness, Barbara, then becomes what you do in action. So you're much more aware of what you're really doing, and you will do the right moves. And things doesn't always have to go that fast like we're doing, because we're being so stressed with everything. And it's like you and I, we talked about time. I said I want to go 60 years back in time so I can do all the things I want. But, you know, eventually you learn to become aware and do things right. And you can see the old masters of martial arts. They move fast because they have learned awareness and mindfulness. And we can all do that in everyday life.
Yeah, it can be so inundating, the darkness sometimes on the earth, that it can cause you to shut down and be bitter.
That is true. That is true. And that's the things we have to stand up against. We have to float above that, because all the negative news we get and all the bad things that's going to happen and all this, people just leave that go as it is. Observe it, be aware of it, but don't pay too much energy to it. Because we help create the negativity if we focus on it. But you can learn to observe it, just like you watch the nature one day and you say, lovely. But you don't really spend a lot of energy about, oh, look at that tree and all this, and you're trying to do all this. No, you can just observe it and leave it pass and be aware of it. That's important also, so we don't start digging ourselves into negative thinking, because we create our own reality. And the more people that create the same thing, like all these bad news that we get on TV or whatever, newspapers, just see it or don't even read it. I mean, I look at it, but I just leave it go. I say, okay, that's what they say now. So, you know, they want us to think negative. It's a whole programming system that we're living in. And this is what we got to break. Learn to serve, learn to think well. Bless your enemies and be good to people around you. These are old teachings, but they're equally very essential today.
So together we can redream a new dream here on this planet.
Yes, we can. And this is where the faith needs to come in, Barbara. If we all had that faith to really believe it, we can change all this. And we are the ones that should do it. Because like I said before, the aliens will help us with information, but they will not come here and do the work for us.
It's up to us to take that action.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And bless be all of you who work for this and who comes out. And, you know, I really, really, it makes my heart so happy when people are working, that we get a peaceful, good planet where we all can enjoy life, and we don't have to be fighting for you know, a penny every day just to have food and, you know, be like slaves at work and never have anything else.
Right, and clean water and clean air. Those are just basic rights that now we're actually fighting for those.
That's true. And the scientists today, if you go and look at the real serious scientists, they talk that we can live 1,000 years. And even a Harvard professor said that there is no limit to how long we could live. Mm-hmm. So, yes, there is technology, there is knowledge out there, but it's kept for a few for the moment.
Right. Yeah, I was on helping Janet with a lesson with her show, and we talked about reclamators, that they actually have reclamators that they put you in and they can totally heal you in a matter of minutes, and then you're out again. So we do have some amazing technology coming down the line that hopefully will be put into regular people's hands to use, normal people, everyday people, not just the elite.
Barbara, you were there with Van Tassel, so you know.
Yes, that's true.
And he was a very intelligent man.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
He certainly was. So do we have any questions, Barbara? Have you had any?
I can't get into any of the comments. It's stuck. It's just going round and round and round. And so I don't have any questions from any of our listeners. We do have a phone number, but and that's 916-288-8383 that they can call in. But so far, we're having some technical difficulty, Ralph. So we have about 10 more minutes to the show. And so if you'd like to kind of bring home your thoughts of what you would like to give a roundup for our people, our listeners, it sounds like you got a lot of this information from your alien contact and experience, but also through all your life experiences as well.
Yes.
And,
because, I think really that a lot of this has flowed from within me, and it learned, just before 2000, I had a fantastic evening when a lot of information was flowing through. And I think I wrote 11 or 12 pages filled with stuff. It was like somebody threw 2 tons of books right on my head. But it was an amazing experience. And, it taught me a lot about our planet, about our connection, and it just made everything so much more unity than I ever thought about it, And this is the kind of stuff I wanted to share a long time. But already back in the 80s, I was trying to share this, that, the aliens were actually much more united than we could ever think of. And that they really don't judge one another for the way they think. Now, I know that as humans, we can transcend this as well. Everybody says, well, this is human nature, that we're feeling this way and thinking this way. No, we're programmed to think that way. Mm-hmm. So, all this stuff that they say that, I've seen the hatred between blacks and whites when I was living in the States, going to school. And it's sad to see it because there is no necessity for it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
No.
It doesn't make sense at all.
And,
I think war doesn't make sense either, so.
Some people will not like what I'm saying, but, come on, folks. Nobody's different. We can all do this if we want. And we got to get to know each other. We got to learn to be honest to one another, because these are the real important parts in life. To open up, not to be scared, not to be ignorant. These are really, really important parts, and we suffer a lot from that. And we suffer from the desires of this planet, which makes us forget who we are. Mm-hmm. So, these are old teachings as well, but they're equally so important today. And this is what I want to try to emphasize for you. So work with those things, work with your own qualities, and trust yourself and find your own way. Your own way can maybe inspire so many other people in life to find their own way. Mm-hmm. Rather than we should have somebody above that's always teaching us what to do and say what to do. It's good that we help each other. It's good that we inspire each other. But we do have to find our own way. This is so essential.
Mm-hmm. And so it's lead by example then, right?
Yes, absolutely. Because actions, thoughts, words, feelings, And, you know, feelings is something very strong for humans, which a lot of other ones in the universe don't have in the same sense we have. That makes us very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes us very
powerful. We're really powerful. And once we get outside that matrix and figure that out, we're so amazing. Then we can unite and make some changes.
Absolutely. And I do think, Barbara, we do have help in the sense that alien interference on this planet today is a lot less than it used to be, because I think the good aliens today, they tend to want to protect us, but they say our own problems, we got to solve on ourselves. Because it's true, what happens to us, we cause ourselves. No exceptions.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So this is the thing. So, you know, we have to learn this. Like I said, I've been there, Barbara, and I cannot explain a feeling in that sense, but universal love, it's something else than the human selfish love that we carry. When you learn to feel that universal love, you become the sun, and you will see that you won't judge, you will be quiet, and it's an amazing thing to be there. I'm going to go back there one day.
Well, don't you carry that in your heart right now, though, right?
Oh, I do that, Barbara. But, you know, I also learned that, you know, again, we're all in our evolution and we do our stuff and our mistakes. And, you know, the main thing is to try to learn and do the best anyway. And I think that's so essential for all of us, regardless of where we stand and how much we know. There is always more. Always.
Always more. That's so true. And then when the point you realize you know nothing either, that's such a good aha moment too.
you know, one I liked, Barbara, was when there was a civilization communicating through somebody here on Earth, and they said that we're beyond infinity and we're beyond infinite creator, and we're still developing. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
That's an amazing saying. But I have the feel of that when, you know, like when I did that communication with them a long time back. I understand why I would never see them physically, because they just don't come down on this level.
Right. The vibration's too high.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a big effort for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But,
so they're waiting for you to come up at least somewhat, so it's not so difficult for them.
well, it was beautiful to have the contact. You know, it's they call themselves the Galactic Police to me. That's the way I perceived it anyway, that I perceived it. But they said we're not police in the sense that you think of police on Earth. We are here to serve and to protect. Mm-hmm. And that means to help us, to help us be free.
And so you part of that group, Ralph?
Yes, I did. I had contact with them a few years, but then my Earth life, you know, became very busy, and, you know, the flying and all this, and I started to go in, and I said, yeah, but I'm going to live my Earth life as well. I cannot just fly around, you know, thinking about this all the time. Mm-hmm. So I want to try to bring this spirituality down to this planet and express it here, like we spoke about.
Mm-hmm. And so you're going to do that with your conferences, correct?
Yeah, it's meant to share, and it is meant to be, you know, help for anybody who takes part of this, and it's going to be so that we all can try to find good solutions for things. So it's going to be in different parts eventually, and there will be a website for it, and I'll let you know that, Barbara.
Oh, yeah, let us know.
So when that time is up. And we're going to need help from everyone in this, and it's going to be totally for a non-profit thing. It is just so we unite this planet as much as we can, because good people with good energy will be very strong, and that's going to help us and set us free eventually. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But just be patient and hang in there and believe it. You know, we have a lot of beliefs, but we also must search the knowledge. The knowledge is so essential to have, because with knowledge we can do things, just like we've done today. You know, nothing is a miracle when you know what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
So there are no miracles in truth, but there is knowledge. And knowledge is not the same as believing.
Right. That's well said.
Yeah, that's true, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of the things, Barbara, I hope you agree with me, listeners out there, but I think most of this stuff is common sense, but we need to give it a little bit more attention than we're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, it's easy to hear beautiful stories and all these things, but, you know, all of you are capable every day. Just use your common sense, your own experience, your own learning, and foremost, your heart.
Mm-hmm. So lead with your heart.
Yes. Learn to find that heart and live with it and stand up to it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we have to do. But, you know, when you're being intimidated, you're being scared, and somebody says, well, you're going to lose your job. It's like a friend of mine who's into this. He lost his job as a university professor because he started to dig into 9/11 too much. Mm. And he's quite a distinguished guy and a very intelligent guy I like a lot. Mm-hmm. And I was very sad, but he's doing okay anyway, you know. But he's trying to expose truth. And he's really doing a good job at it as well. So, you know, I really like those kind of people, that they dare to stand up. It's the same I'm doing now, Barbara. I sat with this for 39 years. Right. And here I am now talking about it. And I'm not scared about it because I think it belongs to all of us.
Right. It takes courage.
It takes courage, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But you're never alone out there. You know, a good man is never alone on this planet.
No, it's amazing how you'll be connected at the weirdest places and at the right time. The coincidence, right? Once you start living it, this coincidence happens much, much more.
Absolutely. And, you know, this is the thing that most of us who are ordinary people, we're not out there to get power over anybody and so on. We want to live our lives. We want to live well with our neighbors and our friends and do the things we like and enjoy life. And you know that when you build that trust between people, you know, sometimes you can argue like you do in a relationship, but that's part of life. You can accept that. You don't have to go and hate each other and be all angry. It's difficult at times, but the ego stops you from doing that. So sometimes we just have to give that up a little bit and, you know, listen to what's being said. What's the most intelligent solution? You know, it's important to do that. Mm-hmm. So, you know, having all these arguments and all these things and hot discussions as we do sometimes, they're part of life and they're necessary sometimes. But out of those things can come very good things.
Right. If you can take it apart and take a look at it, and
that's right.
Yeah, there's some beauty in that because now you get to recreate or create something that's maybe never been here before or not been here for a long time.
That's right. You know, so we need those things. So, you know, if your heart is positive to do something good, even though you need to raise your voice at times or you need to show a little bit of anger, that's just part of life. And it's nothing bad. You know, even in aviation, we study this, Barbara. Funny enough, we can study that a leader can be very dominant at times, but equally can be very laid back and very caring for his personnel and all this. It all depends on the situation where you're in. And we talked about it earlier in the show, how I said to you the mother can grab the ear of the kid being angry, but she's doing that out of love.
Right, a tough love.
Right. So, you know, sometimes love can be hard expressed. Mm-hmm. It is not always about being soft and being the doormat. That's not the way.
Yeah.
And this is a lot of schools teach that, Barbara. Be like a doormat. Just sit back and be passive. No, be active. Mm-hmm. You know, make things happen when they need to happen. And when you know that you can do something, then just do it.
Right. Take the risk, have the courage, and have the faith.
There you go. Well, you know
it. So we have just a couple minutes. I want to thank you, Ralph, for being on the show, and I hope that you feel that you were expressed today. And if there's any last thing you'd like to tell our listeners before we sign off for the evening.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all the people that's been listening to all this. I hope this has brought you something. I do this out of my heart for you people, and I really hope this will bring you something. And I'm open for questions on Facebook or on my email. If you have any, please feel free to contact me for anything you wish. I'm there for you as much as I can.
Love it. So you can reach Ralph at RALPH RODEHAG, that's RODEHAG, at Facebook.com. And so thank you again, Ralph, for being on the show. And all of our listeners will be back next week, every Friday, 5 p.m. Los Angeles time. And we have Don Nicholson on our show next week. And you can stay tuned to the Cosmic Oracle Show every Friday live on Facebook. And we do have our Cosmic Oracle YouTube channel. And so this broadcast 2 weeks from now will be on the Cosmic Oracle YouTube channel as well. And so thank you everyone for listening in and being a part of this. Hopefully we're going to be growing. And we'll see you all next week. Stay in love.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear on this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free, but there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver Eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Take a look around, kid. What do you see? Homes being foreclosed. People working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table and still drowning in debt. Don't get me wrong. This country is founded on great ideals and principles. They've all been ruined by the banks. Open your eyes to banks that are robbing you. You know who my favorite president was? Who? Thomas Jefferson. Because he saw all of this coming and tried to stop it. He fought the banks. JFK too, and they killed him for it. The banking institution is more dangerous than an army, he said. He also said that every generation needs a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that. Just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank.